The chime of the alarm pierced through the silence for the third time that week. Like clockwork, it blinked at exactly 11:47 p.m. I sighed heavily, my fingers trembling as I made my way to the living room. The modern house I'd bought 3 months ago, nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood, was supposed to be my sanctuary. After years in a tumultuous relationship, it was meant to be a fresh start, a place where I could finally feel safe. My friends Sarah and Mike had been the ones to recommend the security system. "It's top-notch, the best on the market," Sarah had assured me. As I approached the security panel, its light continued flashing, reflecting off the glass table beneath. The digital display indicated a system reset as it beeped loudly, a sound that had now become an unnerving nightly ritual. Rubbing my temples, I murmured, "Why always at the same time?" The consistency was eerie, and with every recurrence, I felt a growing pit in my stomach. Was it truly a simple system glitch? Or was there something more sinister at play? By morning, my unease grew to the point where I decided to call the security company. The representative, a man named Jason, answered cheerfully. "Hi, this is Jason from Safeguard Security. How can I assist you today?" I took a deep breath. My alarm system keeps resetting itself at 11:47 p.m. It's been happening all week. Do you have any idea why? Jason paused for a moment, the sound of typing echoing on the line. "That's unusual," he finally admitted. "It might be a software issue. How about we send a technician tomorrow to take a look?" Relieved, I replied, "Yes, please. The sooner, the better." That evening, in an attempt to calm my nerves, I brewed some chamomile tea. The warm, floral scent wafted through the air as I poured it into my favorite mug, the one with a painted image of a serene beach. Settling onto my plush sofa, I lost myself in a novel, the outside world momentarily forgotten. Yet, as the grandfather clock in the hallway ticked closer to the ominous time, a knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. Each tick seemed louder, more insistent. When the alarm finally sounded its now familiar tone, I stood up, resolve strengthening. "I need to figure out what's going on," I muttered, setting the book aside and making my way cautiously towards the front door. The hum of the refrigerator and the soft tick of the wall clock were the only sounds accompanying my quickening heartbeat. Staring at the shadow beyond the frosted glass, I felt the weight of vulnerability pressing down on me. The silence was suddenly broken by the creaking of the wooden floorboards, hinting that the intruder was trying to be stealthy. But I wasn't ready to give up without a fight. I scrambled to the kitchen, quickly looking for anything that could serve as a makeshift weapon. My fingers curled around the handle of a cast iron skillet, its weight reassuring. As I crept back towards the entryway, the door was flung open with a violent force, revealing 3 masked figures. The dim lighting cast an eerie glow on their face coverings, making their eyes appear even more menacing. "Who are you? What do you want?" I demanded, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The largest of the 3, presumably the leader, approached me, his movements purposeful and menacing. "Quiet," he growled, his voice muffled by his mask. The other 2 began to split up, one heading towards the living room and the other upstairs. My thoughts raced. Had I left any window open upstairs? Could I somehow slip out? Suddenly, the leader lunged at me, catching me off guard. We struggled for a moment, the skillet crashing to the floor. His hand closed over my mouth, muffling my terrified screams. "Look for the safe," he ordered the others, keeping his eyes trained on me. The way he looked at me, with cold calculation, told me he'd done this many times before. The seconds felt like hours, the sounds of my belongings being thrown and shattered, echoing through the house. The man's grip on me never wavered, even as tears blurred my vision. It was then that the third intruder came rushing downstairs, holding my jewelry box and a few electronics. "Got it," he said, sounding pleased. The leader released me, shoving me towards the couch. "Stay there. Don't even think about following us," he threatened. With one final glance, they retreated, leaving me trembling and devastated. The front door slammed shut, sealing the memory of this horrific night forever in my mind. The suffocating silence of the house settled in after the intruders left, their cacophonous pillaging replaced by my ragged breaths. Every attempt to loosen the binding around my wrists felt like an impossible task. My surroundings, once familiar and welcoming, now took on an alien and haunting quality. My phone lay shattered on the floor, a deliberate act of cruelty from one of the invaders. With every ounce of strength I could muster, I finally managed to free one hand, then the other. With a mix of relief and trepidation, I removed the gag, gasping for air, allowing the pent-up tears to flow freely. The next few hours were a blur of police sirens, questioning, and the consoling embraces of neighbors who had heard the commotion. Sarah, from next door, held me close, her own tears wetting my hair as she whispered words of comfort. "I heard the noise," she admitted, her voice quaking. "I didn't know what to do, and I was scared for you." Officer Ramirez, a stocky man with kind eyes, took my statement. "We've been after this gang for a while now. We're doing everything we can to find them," he assured me. The security company's representative, a young woman named Lisa, visited the next day, her face a mask of guilt. "We deeply apologize for the system failure. We'll ensure this never happens again," she promised. But their words were cold comfort. My sanctum was now a crime scene. The once pristine walls bore the scuff marks and graffiti of the intruders. The once plush carpet was now stained with muddy footprints. Friends and family were a godsend in those following days. My sister, Clara, offered her home. "Stay with us. It's not safe here," she insisted. But the trauma was more than just physical proximity. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the window pane, sent shivers down my spine, dredging up those torturous memories. When the news finally came that the police had apprehended the culprits, a sense of closure washed over me. But the scars, both physical and emotional, were deep-seated. In the subsequent weeks, real estate agents came and went. The house, a place of so many dreams, was sold. I found solace in an apartment complex, a bustling community with tight security, vowing never to live in isolation again. Yet, as the night would darken and the clock would tick towards 11:47 p.m., the dread would creep in. Even surrounded by walls and neighbors, the ghost of that fateful night lurked, a reminder of the fragility of safety and the depth of human cruelty. The soft hum of my laptop filled the silence of my apartment. I had just finished a grueling day at work, and all I wanted was a moment of solitude. With a glass of wine in hand, I settled into my couch, ready to lose myself in the digital world. The soft chime of an incoming email broke my trance. Normally, I'd ignore it, but there was something about this one that caught my eye. The subject read, "Do you know you're being watched?" My heart raced. I thought it might be one of those spam emails, but the subject line felt too personal. Hesitating for just a moment, I clicked it open. Attached were a series of video clips. The first one showed me brushing my teeth this morning, the sunlight casting a soft glow on my face. The next displayed my conversation with Sarah at our favorite coffee shop, our laughter echoing in my ears. The clips went on, each one more intimate and revealing than the last. They showcased my life, every mundane and personal moment captured without my knowledge. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Someone had been watching, recording, and now sharing my every move. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I felt violated, exposed, and utterly terrified. How did they get these? Why me? But the last clip was the most haunting. It was of me, just moments ago, sitting on my couch, engrossed in my laptop. The perspective was unsettling. It was taken from just outside my living room window. I felt my breath catch in my throat, and my heart pounded loudly in my chest. Someone was out there, watching me, right now. Tears welled up in my eyes. I felt like a cornered animal. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of the wind outside made me jump. My home had been invaded by an unseen predator. I quickly shut my laptop, drawing the curtains tight and locking every door and window. But the damage was done. The walls of my apartment seemed to close in on me, and I felt an oppressive weight on my chest. Every shadow, every sound was a potential threat. I was no longer alone in my own home. The Watcher was out there, and I was their prey. As the weight of the situation pressed down on me, I quickly began to double-check every potential entry point to my apartment. My fingers fumbled as I locked each window, ensuring the latches were securely in place. The doors were next, and I added an extra chain for good measure. My once cozy apartment felt like a prison, but I had to ensure my own safety. With trembling hands, I dialed the police, my voice wavering as I relayed the chilling events. The dispatcher's tone was sympathetic, but she informed me that unless there was a direct threat or evidence of a break-in, they couldn't do much immediately. My heart sank further. Desperate for any shred of comfort, I called my closest friends. Sarah, Jake, and Mia, each equally shocked and horrified, all confirmed they hadn't sent the email. The thought that it might be a cruel prank was quickly dismissed. As night deepened, my once familiar apartment transformed into a place of fear. Every creak from the aging wooden floorboards, every rustle of the curtains in the draft, set me on edge. I decided to take matters into my own hands. Digging out an old webcam from a drawer, I set it up facing the entrance of my apartment. If someone was watching me, it was time I watched back. As the hours ticked by, I found myself glued to the feed, my eyes darting at every minor pixel shift, every shadow that seemed out of place. The once soothing sounds of the city outside now felt ominous. Every honk, every distant conversation, every gust of wind felt like a threat. I sat there, clutching a kitchen knife, praying for the dawn to break, jumping at even the smallest of noises. My eyelids grew heavy as fatigue set in, but the fear pumping through my veins kept me alert. I had to know who was doing this and why. The darkness outside seemed to stretch on forever, but I was determined to face whatever or whoever was tormenting me. Hours felt like days. As morning's first light began to seep through the gaps in my curtains, a mixture of relief and dread washed over me. The night was over, but my ordeal was far from it. I was determined to get answers. With the morning sun filtering through my curtains, I forced myself out of my makeshift vigil post and began to play back the webcam footage. As I scrubbed through the recording, a particular segment caught my attention, a dark figure lurking just outside my door, partially concealed in the shadows. My heart raced, recalling the mysterious email's timestamp. I quickly cross-referenced it with the time on my webcam footage. There was a match. The stalker had been there, just outside, when that chilling email had been sent. Determined to find any clues that might reveal their identity, I went back to the original video clip sent to me. I watched each one intently, looking for any slip-up, any accidental reflection, anything that might give them away. Then, in a brief moment in one of the clips, I saw it, a reflection in the glass of a framed photo on my wall. The face was obscured, but some features were distinct enough for recognition. I gasped. The face in the reflection was vaguely familiar, someone from my neighborhood. A guy I'd occasionally pass by during my morning jogs. The realization that this person, someone I saw almost daily, had been stalking me was a terrifying revelation. With newfound determination and the evidence in hand, I decided to confront him. My once paralyzing fear turned into anger and defiance. I made my way to his residence, my every step echoing my resolve. Standing in front of his door, I took a deep breath and knocked. The door slowly opened, revealing his surprised face. Without waiting for him to speak, I thrust the videos in front of him, demanding an explanation. He looked panicked, his facade crumbling. We locked eyes, and a tense standoff ensued. I could see the guilt and fear in his eyes. The tables had turned, the Watcher was now the watched. Before he could react, I'd already dialed the police, ensuring he couldn't escape. When they arrived, they handcuffed him, and he was taken away, his gaze lowered in shame. Though I had successfully unmasked my stalker, the ordeal left deep emotional scars. I no longer felt safe, even in my own home. The experience changed my perception of safety and privacy forever. Every shadow, every unfamiliar face, became a potential threat. The trauma lingered, a constant reminder of the fragility of trust and the dangers that lurk in the most unexpected places. The city's hum had always been a comforting background noise to me. It was one of the reasons I chose to move to this bustling metropolis. My new apartment, perched on the 15th floor, offered a panoramic view of the urban expanse below. I felt both connected to the world and safely distanced from it. One evening, after settling down with a bowl of popcorn and a classic thriller on the TV, my phone buzzed. Glancing at the screen, I saw a message from an unknown number. "Nice movie choice," I chuckled, thinking one of my friends was pulling a prank on me. Maybe Sarah or Mike, peeking through my window from a neighboring building with a telescope, trying to spook the new city dweller. The next day, while preparing dinner, another message popped up. "The spaghetti you're cooking smells delicious." This time, the amusement faded, replaced by a hint of unease. How could they know what I was cooking? My apartment's blinds were drawn, and I lived alone. I quickly called Sarah and Mike, both of whom sounded genuinely clueless and concerned. The following morning, as I picked out an outfit for work, my phone buzzed again. "I like that blue sweater you wore today." My heart raced. The specificity of the texts, their real-time nature, it felt invasive and deeply unsettling. This wasn't a friend's prank. Someone was watching me, intently. In a bid to escape this unseen observer, I decided to change my phone number. I even bolstered my apartment's security, adding extra locks and installing a peephole. For a brief time, the eerie calm returned, and I began to think I might have overreacted. However, that sense of security was shattered when, a few days later, a new text arrived, chilling me to the bone. "Changing numbers won't help, Alex." The realization that this silent stalker was relentless and perhaps even close was a terrifying thought. Who were they? What did they want? As the city lights flickered below, my once safe haven felt more like a glass cage, with an inescapable watcher lurking in the shadows. The relentless messages cast a shadow over every aspect of my life. I jump at the sudden ping of a notification, the familiar jingle now a harbinger of dread. The city's sprawling skyline, which once seemed full of promise, now felt like a labyrinth where danger lurked behind every corner. The sanctuary of my apartment became a fortress. I invested in state-of-the-art security cameras, placing them at strategic points to cover every nook and cranny. Every night before bed became a ritualistic check of all entry points, ensuring they were secure. But no matter the measures I took, the texts kept coming. "Sleeping with the lights on won't save you. Did you check under the bed? I'm closer than you think." Each message was a twisted knife, intensifying my paranoia. Friends and family became concerned as I withdrew, avoiding social gatherings and night outs. My once buzzing social life had been reduced to whispered phone calls and hasty updates. I informed them of the situation, hoping someone might have a clue or a solution. But all I received were expressions of sympathy and concern. One evening, as I was settling into my nightly routine of checking the security feeds, a new message arrived. This time, it was different. The stalker began sending real-time commentary on my every move. "Pouring a glass of wine? Careful, don't spill. You missed a spot cleaning the kitchen counter." The sheer audacity and proximity of the stalker pushed me to the edge. I wasn't just going to be a victim. I needed to take control, to fight back. With determination burning in my heart, I reached out to Jordan, a tech-savvy friend from college. If anyone could trace these messages, it was him. Jordan, equally alarmed by the situation, agreed to help. "We'll find this creep," he assured me. Using a concoction of software tools and digital expertise, we attempted to trace the origin of the messages. Hours turned into days as we scoured through data, looking for any breadcrumb that might lead us to the stalker. But as the digital trail grew cold, my hope began to wane. Was I ever going to be free of this nightmare? Or was I doomed to live under the constant watch of this silent stalker? With the location identified, I ventured towards the old building. Its facade was a stark contrast to the contemporary skyline that surrounded it, crumbling bricks, shattered windows, and nature slowly reclaiming its territory. My heart raced as the weight of my decision bore down on me. Confronting the stalker was risky, but living in perpetual fear was no longer an option. Pushing open the creaky door, I was met with an eerie silence. The hallways echoed my footsteps, each reverberation amplifying my growing anxiety. The building seemed deserted, a relic of a bygone era, but an unsettling feeling told me otherwise. In a dimly lit room, I stumbled upon the unexpected, a makeshift control center. Multiple monitors displayed live footage from cameras strategically placed throughout my apartment. Every corner, every hideaway, everything laid bare for the stalker's voyeuristic pleasure. The sheer audacity of the setup was chilling. But where was the stalker? I scoured the building, room after room, but found no one. It was as if they'd vanished into thin air. Yet, as I stood in that room, surrounded by the invasive surveillance, my phone buzzed, jolting me out of my thoughts. "Impressive," the message read, "but do you really think you can stop me?" Frantically, I dismantled the equipment, ensuring no trace of the surveillance remained. I then contacted the police, detailing my discovery and the ongoing torment. Their search of the building yielded no further clues, leaving me with a sense of unease. Returning home that night, every shadow cast by the city lights felt like a potential hiding spot for the unseen stalker. My apartment, once a sanctuary, now bore the scars of the invasion of my privacy. Yet, despite the ordeal, a semblance of relief washed over me, knowing that the immediate threat had been neutralized. As I prepared for bed, the weight of the day's events began to take its toll. The promise of a peaceful night's sleep beckoned, and I was on the verge of succumbing when my phone buzzed once more. The screen illuminated the dark room as I read the chilling message, "You can't escape me that easily." The realization hit me hard. While I had uncovered the stalker's lair, their true identity remained a mystery. The story was far from over, and the game of cat and mouse had only just begun.